All right, well, the president was busy talking troop numbers and reducing them in Afghanistan. Do those troops increasingly have his number? Because if my next guest is right, they see nothing being done, at least for them, from our veterans in crisis to one Marine still stewing in a Mexican jail. Former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Jed Babin says the president is sending the wrong message to those who serve us. In fact, it's a bad message. Good to see you, Secretary, in the flesh.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's so rarely we actually get to be in the same room.
We're always remote, right?
Yeah.
First off, on troops and how they feel about him. Now, you always hear that troops generally like Republican presidents. I don't know if that's always true because they're more pro-military, and that this might be coming into play here as he downscales. What's going on?
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think the troops, like most everybody else in America, they look at who is backing their play. And when they have a strong president who believes in them and does what needs to be done to support them, that's one thing. And in this case, they have someone who is, well, blocking the veterans' memorials and sequestration, treating veterans like junk, frankly, not doing what he needs to do to solve the VA problem, not getting that Marine out of Mexico. I mean, the president, this really makes me mad, Neil. The president should be making a personal phone call to the president of Mexico and saying, I want this man released. And if he did, he'd get him. But where is he? He's not on the phone.
We don't know what he's done. So let's say it would, I guess, be even more damning if he did and nothing happened, right?
Well, perhaps, but at least he would have tried. And that's what you need to do to back the troops. When you have something coming on like this VA scandal, you appoint an independent prosecutor. You get, well, the Attorney General order him to do it, and they haven't. I mean, what are you going to do? You're now going to have the VA investigating itself? I mean, it's like having the Profacis or the Gambinos investigating themselves.
Hey, you leave my people out of it. But Jed, here's what I mean. There must be something different to this scandal just by the bipartisan rage it's inside. I'm talking about the VA scandal. When Connecticut Senator Blumenthal is calling for a criminal investigation here. So obviously there is something to what you say, and the wrath is real. But this has been decades in the making. A lot of people say this president is just inheriting what others did. He even referred last week to how things got worse because of 10 years of war. That was a not so subtle slap at his predecessor. What's the real deal here? Why is this administration and the agency itself for veterans just not functional?
Well, it is non-functional. I mean, my own experience with it, which is very small, basically I was told by people to never take a job there because it was the most dysfunctional bureaucracy outside of the Kremlin.
Who runs it, though? Is it just regular citizens or any with a military background? Who?
Anybody and everybody. I mean, there's such a large bureaucracy there. I mean, there have been some good people there. I mean, General Shinseki is obviously a military guy. But it's run by an entrenched bureaucracy that needs to be, it's an Augean stable that really needs to be flushed out.
How would you fix it?
I think you need to get a system really big overhaul. You get a blue ribbon panel in place, you study the system, you get people fired, you replace them, you do things that are necessary to provide people.
What about ending it and let them get their care in the regular hospital system?
I think that would probably be a good idea. TRICARE works, you know, for the military who have been recently retired. You know, if you want to end the VA, I don't think anybody's going to shed a tear. And right now, you have to do something. You can look back on other administrations, Neil. I don't recall any instance where people were caught generally, not one at a little time, you know, one by one, caught falsifying government records. I don't recall anybody saying we have 40 dead veterans because people refused to take care of them and we're keeping the books phonied up because we didn't want to do it. This is something that is new. It's on Obama's plate. He needs to solve it.
Real quickly on this U.S. Marine holed up in a Mexican jail. I've been scratching my head trying to figure out what the heck has happened, because a number of soldiers on both sides of the border have done the same thing with weapons in their car, veered into areas they shouldn't have been, and it was ended. It was done. Nothing happened. Something happened with this guy, and I'm wondering whether there's more to this case than we know, or we're not being told. What?
Well, I don't know. I wish I could add to the story. All I can figure is somebody got crosswise with this guy and, you know, basically decided to make an example of him. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. And that's exactly why you have to have the President of the United States take personal charge of this thing. Where is he, Neil?
So you say on these issues, like the VA thing and this soldier thing, and then the line in the sand that you've always talked about in the past this year, he just doesn't follow up, and they feel like he lets them down?
I think that's generally true. I can't speak for every soldier and sailor and airman and Marine out there, but I know when I was in the military, it was to me a very personal thing. It was a personal obligation I felt to this country, and I expected that the president and everybody from on down would back my play. And this president is not doing the job.
Yeah, you reminded me it's not about party. He's always your commander-in-chief.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which party it is. The president has a real sacred obligation to back the troops.
Jed, it's great seeing you in the flesh.
Thank you.
So you're a full human being. I had no idea.
Not just a vision on the screen.
There you go, not a hologram. All right, Jed, thank you very, very much. In the meantime, on FBN tonight, already 16 lawsuits filed against the VA, but you wouldn't believe for what. Why the department could be in even bigger trouble as a result. 8 p.m. on FBN, as the secretary likes me to remind me, if you don't get it, demand it!